Welcome to another deep dive.
Oh, I love a good deep dive.
Today we're diving into the world of early childhood development.
Oh, exciting.
We'll be looking at that amazing period between the ages of 3 and 6.
Right.
And our guide for this deep dive is this child development textbook.
Okay.
And let me tell you, this
Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
is packed with fascinating stuff.
Oh, I bet. I love this stuff.
We're on a mission to uncover
Okay.
how kids in this age range grow,
Yeah.
learn,
Yeah.
and start to see the world in a whole new light.
That's so fascinating, isn't it? It's such a dynamic stage.
It really is.
Just watching them transform,
Mm-hmm.
not just physically, but in their thinking and their understanding of themselves
Yeah,
and others.
absolutely. And speaking of physical changes,
Yeah.
we hear a lot about growth spurts,
Right?
right? But the book actually says that growth slows down a bit between 3 and 6.
Interesting.
They're definitely getting more coordinated, though.
That running, jumping,
Well, yeah.
climbing.
All those gross motor skills.
Yeah. Putting
Mhm.
those muscles to work.
Yeah, it's amazing how much stronger they get in such a short period of time.
It really is.
It's amazing.
And we can't forget about sleep.
Oh, sleep.
The book says
Mm-hmm.
it's not just about the amount of sleep,
Right.
but the patterns are shifting.
Oh, interesting.
Kids this age often need less sleep overall,
Okay.
which can be a shock to parents who are used to those long naps.
Yeah. Yeah. They get so used to their kids sleeping all the time,
Yeah.
and then suddenly they're not.
Right. And you're like, wait,
Yeah.
what am I supposed to do with all this time?
Exactly.
The book actually says that sleep disturbances like night terrors
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
and sleepwalking are pretty common in this age range.
Yeah. Remember those days.
So it's reassuring to know that they're usually outgrown.
Right.
But I am curious, what's happening in the brain during this time that might explain those sleep disturbances? Well, think of it like this.
Okay.
Their brains are undergoing major rewiring,
Okay.
especially in the areas related to emotional regulation
Uh-huh.
and impulse control.
Right.
Those night terrors and sleepwalking episodes could be a sign of those developing systems still figuring things out.
Oh, so they're still developing. So
Mm.
then are those like almost like growing pains?
Yeah, kind of. It's like their brains are working overtime even when they're sleeping.
Wow.
It's pretty amazing.
That makes a lot of sense. And it makes those consistent bedtime routines even more important, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Having that predictable wind down time
Yeah.
can help signal to those busy brains that it's time to rest.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, avoiding caffeine and screens before bed is beneficial for everyone,
Right.
not just kids.
That's a good point. I should probably get off my phone before bed.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. Switching gears a bit.
Sure.
The book also talks about the growing concern of childhood obesity,
Oh, yeah.
particularly in the U.S.
Hmm.
It seems like it's not just about individual choices.
Right.
There are bigger forces at play, right?
Yeah, for sure. You hit the nail on the head. The environment plays a huge role.
Okay.
And the book mentions these concepts of food deserts
Okay.
and food swamps.
Food deserts and food swamps.
Yeah. So imagine a neighborhood
Okay.
where the only easily accessible food options
Yeah.
are fast food restaurants
Okay.
and convenience stores
Right.
with little to no access to fresh fruits and vegetables.
Oh, wow.
That's a food desert.
Okay.
On the flip side, a food swamp is an area saturated with unhealthy, calorie-dense foods.
Okay.
It's no surprise that children growing up in these environments
Yeah.
are at a higher risk for obesity.
That's a really interesting way to think about it.
Yeah, it's pretty eye-opening.
I've never thought about it like that before.
Yeah,
It really highlights the impact of those social and economic factors on a child's health.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's something we need to be more aware of as a society.
And speaking of risks,
Yeah.
the book also stresses the importance of home safety during these years.
Ah, yes, that's so important.
Accidental injuries are unfortunately a leading cause of death for this age group.
It makes sense when you think about it.
Yeah.
Children are becoming more mobile and adventurous,
Mm-hmm.
but their judgment
Yeah.
and impulse control
Yes.
are still developing.
So things like securing heavy furniture, keeping medications out of reach, and being vigilant around water are crucial.
Absolutely. It's better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah.
You can never be too careful when it comes to kid safety.
Okay, let's dive into the fascinating world of cognitive development.
Okay, one of my favorite topics.
This is where Piaget's pre-operational stage comes in.
Right.
It sounds like kids are bursting with imagination,
Yeah,
but their thinking isn't quite logical yet, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Think of it as a period of magical thinking
Okay.
where symbolism and pretend play reign supreme.
Oh, I love it.
This is where you see children using a banana as a phone.
Uh-huh.
Or a cardboard box as a spaceship.
Yes.
They're starting to represent the world through symbols.
Right.
Which is a huge cognitive leap.
It really is.
It's amazing to watch.
So that's what symbolic function means.
Exactly.
It's like their imaginations are taking flight.
It's so beautiful to see, isn't it?
It is. But the book also mentions centration.
Yes.
What is that about?
Centration is this fascinating tendency to focus on just one aspect of a situation, even if it leads to illogical conclusions. The classic example is the conservation task. If you pour the same amount of liquid into a tall, skinny glass and a short, wide glass, a child in this stage might insist that the taller glass hold more.
Oh, wow.
Simply because the liquid level is higher.
Right.
They're fixated on that one visual cue.
So they're not quite grasping the idea that the amount of liquid stays the same, even though the appearance changes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's all about appearances at this stage.
That's so interesting. But there's also this incredible development called theory of mind emerging.
Yes.
The book describes it as the ability to understand that others have their own thoughts and beliefs.
Right.
Which is like unlocking a whole new level of social interaction.
It is. It's huge.
It really is.
It changes everything.
Yeah.
It's like they're starting to peek into the minds of others.
Yeah.
And that has huge implications for their relationships.
It really does. So can you give me like an example?
Sure. Think about a child who is trying to trick their sibling by hiding a toy. A child with a developed theory of mind will be able to anticipate where their sibling will look based on their sibling's beliefs, not just their own knowledge.
Oh, wow.
It's pretty sophisticated stuff.
So it's more than just understanding that others have different thoughts.
Yes.
It's about being able to predict their actions based on those thoughts.
Exactly. They're starting to put those pieces together.
That's amazing.
It is.
What's fascinating is that language development, social experiences, even being bilingual, all contribute to this development of theory of mind.
It all plays a role.
Speaking of language, this is the age where we see that incredible vocabulary explosion, right?
Oh, yeah.
I remember being amazed by how quickly my niece was picking up new words at this age.
It's like they're little sponges.
Yeah.
Soaking up language at an astonishing rate.
It's amazing.
The book calls it fast mapping.
Fast mapping.
Which is the ability to learn new words after just a few exposures.
Okay.
They're making connections between words and their meanings incredibly quickly.
So they might hear a new word a couple of times.
Yeah.
And suddenly start using it correctly.
Yeah.
In their own sentences.
Exactly. It's remarkable how quickly they grasp the nuances of language.
That really is remarkable.
It is. And it's not just about learning new words. It's also about using language effectively in social situations.
Right.
Which the book refers to as pragmatics.
Okay, pragmatics.
For example, they're learning to say please and thank you, to take turns in conversation,
right,
and to adjust their language based on who they're talking to.
So they're learning the rules of engagement?
Exactly. It's like they're cracking the code of social communication.
It's amazing. But the book also mentions something called private speech.
Ah, yes.
Which is essentially talking to themselves.
Perfect.
And I have to admit, I used to think that was a little odd.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
But it turns out there's a purpose to it, right?
Absolutely. Private speech isn't just cute.
Okay.
It's actually a sign of cognitive development.
Okay.
Children use it to help regulate their behavior, to solve problems, and even practice new skills.
Wow, I never realized.
It's like they're externalizing their thought processes.
Okay.
And it's an important step towards developing inner speech.
Yeah?
And self-control.
Wow. I never realized there was so much going on beneath the surface of those seemingly random ramblings.
There's a lot happening in those little heads.
Right. And while all of this cognitive and linguistic development is happening, we can't forget about the role of memory.
Oh, yes. Memory is crucial.
The book talks about how those early childhood memories are being formed.
Right.
But it's not just about remembering facts, is it?
No, it's much more than that.
It's about building a sense of self, a personal narrative.
Exactly. It's like they're creating the story of their lives.
That's fascinating.
It is.
So how do those memories actually form?
Well, the book differentiates between different types of memory.
Okay.
There's generic memory.
Generic memory.
which is about remembering routines
Okay.
and repeated experiences,
Okay.
like knowing that bedtime always comes after dinner.
Right.
Then there's episodic memory,
Okay. Episodic memory.
which is about remembering specific events,
Okay.
like a trip to the zoo. But the most interesting type, in my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
is autobiographical memory,
Autobiographical.
which is about those unique personal experiences
Right.
that shape our identity.
So like that time you caught your first fish?
Yes,
Or your first day of preschool?
exactly. Those are the memories that become part of our life story,
Okay.
the ones we share with others
Yeah.
and revisit as we grow older.
Right.
They become part of who we are.
And here's what really blew my mind.
With that,
The book says that conversations with adults actually help solidify those autobiographical memories. It's like those bedtime stories and those chats about the day
yeah,
aren't just about bonding.
right.
They're actually helping those memories stick.
They are. By talking with children about their experiences, asking them questions,
Yeah.
and helping them make sense of their world,
Uh-huh.
we're actually helping them weave those experiences into their long-term memory.
Wow.
It's like we're co-constructing their personal narratives.
That's amazing. I never realized those everyday conversations had such a profound impact
They really do.
on a child's development.
It's powerful stuff.
But speaking of development,
Yeah.
we often hear about IQ tests
Right.
and intelligence.
Hmm.
But the book seems to focus on something else, Vygotsky's zone of proximal development.
Ah, yes. The ZPD.
I have to admit, that one always sounded a bit abstract to me.
I understand. It can be a tricky concept.
Can you break it down for us?
Absolutely. Think of it this way. A child's current abilities
Okay.
represent what they can do independently.
Right.
But there's this whole other realm of potential.
Okay.
Things they can achieve with a little help from someone more knowledgeable.
Right.
That's the zone of proximal development, or ZPD.
So it's not about what they already know.
Right.
It's about what they're capable of learning with guidance.
Exactly. It's about potential.
It's like that saying, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime.
Exactly. You got it. And that's where scaffolding comes in.
Scaffolding.
It's about providing that support,
Okay.
that structure, to help children reach those higher levels of understanding
Okay.
within their ZPD.
So can you give me an example of that?
Sure. Think of a parent helping a child learn to ride a bike.
Okay.
At first, they might hold onto the seat,
Yeah.
then gradually let go
Right.
as the child gains confidence
Yeah.
and skill.
That's a good one.
It's a classic example of scaffolding in action.
It's about creating a safe space for them to experiment,
Yes.
make mistakes,
Uh-huh.
and learn from those mistakes.
Exactly. It's all part of the learning process.
And it's important to remember
Yeah,
that each child's ZPD is unique.
absolutely. Every child learns at their own pace.
What one child can do with minimal support,
Yeah,
another child might need more guidance to achieve.
that's right. It's all about meeting them where they are
Right.
and providing the right level of challenge.
That's a great reminder. So it's not just about intelligence as a fixed trait.
Right.
It's about their potential to grow
Yeah.
and learn with the right support.
Exactly. It's a much more dynamic view of intelligence.
I'm really starting to see how all of these pieces fit together.
Me too. It's all connected.
Physical development,
Yeah.
cognitive skills,
Mhm.
language, memory,
Uh-huh.
and even social interactions.
It's like a beautifully intricate dance.
It really is.
It's amazing to see it all unfold.
And we've only just scratched the surface.
I know, right? There's so much more to explore.
There's so much more to explore in terms of how these early experiences shape their emotional, social, and even moral development.
It's a fascinating journey.
Well, I'm definitely hooked. We're going to need a whole other deep dive to unpack all of that.
I'm ready when you are.
But for now, let's take a quick break and we'll come back with more insights from the world of early childhood development in part 2.
Sounds good. I can't wait.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the fascinating world of early childhood development.
Yeah, it's amazing to think about all the changes happening in their little brains.
It really is.
You know, it's like
Yeah.
they're building the foundation for everything that comes next.
It really is. And we were just talking about how those early conversations with adults
Right.
play a crucial role in shaping their memories
Yeah.
and their understanding of the world.
Yeah.
But now I'm curious, what about those times when communication isn't so straightforward?
Right.
The book mentions language delays as a concern for some families.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And it's more common than many people realize.
Is it?
Yeah, the book states that about 1 in 9 children
Wow.
between the ages of 3 and 6 experience some kind of communication disorder.
Wow, that's a significant number. What are some of the factors that might contribute to these delays?
Well, it's often a complex interplay of things, hearing problems, premature birth, even family history can play a role.
Oh, wow.
And the book highlights how socioeconomic factors, like access to quality health care and early learning opportunities, can also have a huge impact.
So it's not always a simple case of they'll catch up eventually.
Exactly. Early intervention is key.
Yeah.
Okay. Those delays, if left unaddressed, can snowball into challenges with reading, writing, and even social interaction.
Right.
The book emphasizes the importance of seeking professional help if parents have concerns about their child's language development.
It makes you realize how interconnected all these developmental domains are.
Absolutely.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, it's all intertwined.
A delay in one area can ripple out and affect others.
It's a domino effect.
Yeah. And that brings us back to the role of parents and caregivers.
Yes.
We've touched on parenting styles.
Right.
But I'm wondering, what are your thoughts on the book's discussion of discipline?
Oh, yeah.
It seems like there's a lot of debate around what methods are most effective.
Definitely, the book presents a whole spectrum of approaches.
Yeah.
From reinforcement and punishment to more inductive techniques like reasoning and explaining.
Right. But I was struck by the discussion of corporal punishment.
Yeah.
It's still a widely debated topic.
It is, and the book acknowledges that cultural norms play a huge role in how discipline is viewed in practice.
That makes sense.
But what's fascinating is that despite those cultural variations, the research seems to point in a pretty clear direction.
You're referring to the studies linking corporal punishment to negative outcomes, right?
Exactly. The book cites research showing that children who experience corporal punishment are more likely to exhibit aggressive behavior.
Wow.
Struggle with emotional regulation, and even have a higher risk of mental health issues later in life.
It makes you wonder why this method of discipline persists, even in the face of such compelling evidence.
Well, I think part of it stems from deeply ingrained beliefs about obedience and respect. But what's encouraging is that more and more parents are embracing alternative approaches, like positive reinforcement and inductive discipline.
Those methods seem to focus on teaching children self-control and empathy.
Yes.
Rather than simply reacting to misbehavior with punishment.
Exactly. It's about guiding them towards making better choices, understanding the consequences of their actions, and developing a sense of responsibility.
It sounds like a much more constructive approach, fostering a stronger parent-child bond in the process.
Absolutely. And while we're on the topic of relationships, let's not forget about the crucial role of siblings and peers.
Oh, yeah.
Those early bonds can have a lasting impact, shaping a child's social skills and their sense of belonging.
Right. The book even suggests that those seemingly endless sibling squabbles can actually be valuable learning experiences.
Oh, absolutely. It's like a crash course in conflict resolution, negotiation, and compromise.
Right.
They're figuring out how to navigate those complex social dynamics within the safety net of their family.
And then as they venture out into the wider world of preschool and playdates, those peer relationships become even more important.
Yeah, they start branching out.
It's fascinating to observe how children this age start to form friendships based on shared interests and compatible personalities.
Right. They're figuring out who they click with.
The book talks about how they're drawn to playmates who are kind of cooperative and fun to be around.
They're learning what makes a good friend.
It's like they're intuitively recognizing the value of positive relationships.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
And those early friendships can be so powerful.
They can.
Providing a sense of belonging and shared joy.
It's a special time.
And as they navigate those social interactions, their emotional understanding deepens too.
Oh, absolutely.
The book points out that children this age are starting to grasp more complex emotions. Like jealousy, guilt, and empathy.
It's like they're developing an emotional vocabulary to make sense of their own feelings and the feelings of others.
So they're starting to understand that other people have different feelings than they do.
Exactly. And they're starting to put names to those feelings.
They're becoming more adept at recognizing that people can experience multiple emotions at the same time.
Yeah, that's a big one.
For example, they might understand that their friend can be both excited about a birthday party and sad that their favorite toy is broken.
It's a lot to process.
That's a pretty nuanced understanding of emotions for such young children.
It is. It speaks to the incredible cognitive and emotional leaps they're making during this stage.
Right.
They're starting to see the world in shades of gray, not just black and white.
But of course, with all this emotional growth comes the occasional meltdown, right?
Oh, for sure.
I mean, they're still learning to regulate those big feelings.
Absolutely. Tantrums and emotional outbursts are par for the course.
Right.
It's all part of the process of developing self-control and learning to express their emotions in healthy ways.
And that's where those supportive adults come in, providing comfort guidance and maybe a few deep breaths along the way.
Exactly. It's about helping them navigate those emotional storms and emerge with a stronger sense of self-awareness and resilience.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, from language development and discipline to the complexities of sibling rivalry and the blossoming of friendships.
It's a lot to take in.
But there's one more piece of the puzzle we need to address. Gender development.
Okay.
The book devotes a whole section to this topic, and it's clear that it's an area where nature and nurture intertwine in fascinating ways.
It really is one of the most complex areas of development.
And while there's a growing recognition that gender is more fluid than those traditional binary categories, it's undeniable that children this age are absorbing messages about what it means to be a boy or a girl.
Absolutely. They're like little sponges soaking it all up.
The book talks about gender schemas, those mental frameworks they're constructing based on their observations of the world around them.
Right, they're trying to make sense of it all.
And those schemas are heavily influenced by cultural norms, media portrayal, and even the language we use.
It's all around them.
Exactly. Think about the toys marketed to boys versus girls.
Yeah.
The colors and clothing deemed appropriate for each gender. The expectations around how they should play and interact.
It's a constant stream of messages, some subtle but powerful nonetheless.
And the book points out that these gender stereotypes peak around age 5.
Really?
It's like they're trying to fit themselves into these predefined boxes, even if those boxes don't quite capture the full spectrum of who they are.
It's like they're trying on different identities, seeing what fits.
And it's interesting to consider the different theories that attempt to explain this process of gender development.
Yeah, there's so many different perspectives.
The book touches on biological factors like hormones and brain differences, as well as social learning theories that emphasize the role of observation and imitation.
Right, nature and nurture working together.
It seems like there's no single explanation, but rather a complex interplay of nature and nurture.
Exactly. It's a fascinating puzzle.
And as our understanding of gender identity evolves, it's crucial to create environments where children feel free to explore their own sense of self.
Absolutely.
Regardless of societal expectations.
It's about letting them be who they are.
I love that it's about celebrating their individuality.
Yes.
And encouraging them to embrace the full range of human experience.
I couldn't agree more. And amidst all these complex influences, there's one constant that shines through.
Okay.
The power of play.
Play.
Yes. The book emphasizes that play is the engine of learning in early childhood.
It really is.
And it's fascinating to see how it manifests in different forms.
It is, right.
Yeah.
The book describes different types of play, from the simple joy of movement in functional play to the elaborate worlds of imagination in dramatic play.
Right.
And there's also a social dimension to play, with children moving from solitary exploration to cooperative games with rules.
It's amazing how they naturally progress through these different stages of play.
It's amazing to observe how they use play to practice language skills, problem solve, experiment with social roles, and even regulate their emotions.
It's like a microcosm of the adult world.
Right.
But with a healthy dose of creativity and fun thrown in.
And the book challenges the common misconception that solitary play is always a cause for concern.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Sometimes kids just need that space to process their thoughts and explore their inner world.
It's important to respect their need for alone time.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that there's no one right way to play.
Absolutely. Every child is different.
Each child has their own style, and it's important to respect those individual differences.
And I love how the book points out that play looks different across cultures.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that there are many ways to learn and grow, and that diversity is a strength, not a weakness.
And speaking of cultural influences, we need to acknowledge that parenting practices, just like everything else, are shaped by the values and beliefs of a particular society.
Right.
The book touches on how different cultures might approach disciplined communication and even the expression of emotions in unique ways.
It's a reminder that there's no one-size-fits-all approach to parenting.
Right. What works for one family might not work for another.
Exactly.
And it's important to be sensitive to those cultural nuances.
And as we continue to learn more about early childhood development, we can better support parents and caregivers in their journey, equipping them with the knowledge and tools to nurture those little brains and hearts.
And on that note, I think it's time for another quick break. We'll be back soon with the final part of our deep dive into the amazing world of early childhood development. Welcome back for the final part of our deep dive into this incredible world of early childhood development. We've covered so much already. But
yeah, right.
There's still a lot to unpack. We've been focusing on those typical developmental milestones, but it's also important to acknowledge that every child's journey is unique.
Absolutely. Every child is different.
Exactly. And speaking of unique journeys, the book touches on the challenges some families face.
Right.
When their child's development doesn't follow those typical patterns, language delays, for instance, can be a real concern for parents.
Absolutely. It's a common worry.
And as we talked about earlier, those delays can stem from a variety of factors.
Right. It's not always one thing.
Hearing issues, premature birth, even socioeconomic factors can play a role.
It's complex.
The book emphasizes that it's not always a clear-cut case.
Right.
And early intervention is crucial.
Absolutely. The sooner the better.
So what would you say to parents who are worried about their child's language development? Where should they start?
Well, I think the first step is to talk to their pediatrician. They can assess the child's overall development and recommend specialists if needed, like a speech-language pathologist.
Okay, so talk to the pediatrician first.
Yeah, they can guide you in the right direction.
And early intervention can make a huge difference.
It can.
In helping children catch up and reach their full potential.
It's all about giving them the support they need.
And the book also talks about the importance of creating a language-rich environment at home.
Oh, yes. That's so important.
So what does that look like?
Well, it can be simple things like reading aloud to children, singing songs, engaging in back-and-forth conversations. These can go a long way in stimulating language development.
Okay.
It's about creating those opportunities for interaction and exposure to new words.
Right.
Just surrounding them with language.
So even if a child is receiving professional help, parents can play an active role in supporting their language growth.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Parents are the child's first and most important teachers.
That's empowering.
It is. It gives parents a sense of agency.
And speaking of empowering parents, the book dives into another topic that often sparks strong opinions: discipline.
Oh, yes, discipline. Always a hot topic.
We touched on corporal punishment earlier.
Right.
But I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the alternatives presented in the book.
Okay, yeah.
The book seems to advocate for a more positive and proactive approach, right?
Yeah, it's definitely moving away from punishment.
It's not just about reacting to misbehavior.
Right.
It's about guiding children towards making better choices.
Exactly. It's about teaching, not punishing.
Exactly. Techniques like positive reinforcement, where you reward desired behavior.
Yeah, focusing on the good stuff.
And inductive reasoning, where you help children understand the consequences of their actions.
Help them think it through.
Tend to be much more effective in the long run.
They are. They help children develop self-control and problem-solving skills.
And the book emphasizes that it's not about being a perfect parent.
Oh, thank goodness.
It's about building a strong, loving relationship with your child.
That's the foundation.
Discipline should be about teaching.
Yes.
Not punishing.
Exactly. It's about guiding them, supporting them.
I completely agree.
And remembering that every child is different.
Right.
What works for one child might not work for another.
It's about being adaptable and responsive.
Yes.
To each child's individual needs and temperament.
Meeting them where they are.
Yeah.
And it's about recognizing that parenting is a journey, not a destination.
It is.
We're all learning and growing alongside our children.
I love that. It takes the pressure off, doesn't it?
It does. We don't have to have all the answers.
It's not about striving for perfection. It's about showing up with love and intention, even when things get messy.
That's the beauty of it.
And speaking of messy, let's not forget about those precious sibling relationships.
Oh, yes, those sibling dynamics.
We talked about how those sibling squabbles can actually be opportunities for learning.
Right. They're learning to navigate conflict.
But I'm curious, what about children who don't have siblings? The book doesn't really address that.
That's a great point. It's important to consider those different family structures.
So While siblings can provide a unique context for learning about conflict resolution and compromise,
Yeah.
it's certainly not the only way children develop those skills.
Exactly. There are many paths to social and emotional development.
So children without siblings aren't at a disadvantage.
Not at all. They still have plenty of opportunities to interact with peers, whether it's at daycare, preschool, or through playdates.
Right. Those peer interactions can be just as valuable
They are. They provide different but equally important learning experiences.
in shaping their social and emotional development.
Exactly. It's all about those social connections.
And the book highlights how as children approach school age,
Yeah.
those friendships become even more important.
They do. They're starting to form those deeper bonds.
They're starting to form those deeper bonds based on shared interests and values.
Right. They're figuring out who they connect with on a deeper level.
It's fascinating to watch those early friendships blossom.
It is. It's a beautiful thing to witness.
Children are learning to navigate the complexities of social dynamics, to share,
Yes.
to cooperate, and to offer support to their friends.
It's all part of growing up.
It's laying the foundation for healthy relationships throughout their lives.
Absolutely. Those early friendships can have a lasting impact.
It really makes you appreciate the power of those early connections, doesn't it?
It does. It's more than just playtime.
And that's not just about having fun.
Right.
It's about learning those essential life skills that will serve them well in all aspects of their lives.
It's amazing how much they learn through play and interaction.
And as we wrap up this deep dive into early childhood development, I'm left with a sense of awe and wonder at the complexity of this stage.
Me too. It's such a remarkable period of growth.
It's a time of such rapid growth, such incredible learning,
Yes.
and such profound transformation.
It's truly magical.
It's been an incredible journey exploring all of these different facets of development.
It has. We've covered so much ground.
From the physical changes, to the cognitive leaps, to the blossoming of their social and emotional worlds.
A lot to take in.
And it's a reminder that we, as adults, have a crucial role to play in supporting these young children.
Absolutely.
As they navigate this incredible period of growth and discovery.
We can make such a difference.
Whether we're parents, educators, or simply caring adults in their lives, we can make a difference by providing a nurturing environment, encouraging their curiosity, and celebrating their unique journeys.
That's what it's all about.
So, to all of our fellow deep divers out there, thank you for joining us on this exploration of early childhood development. We hope you've gained some valuable insights and a renewed appreciation for the amazing capabilities of these young minds. Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep celebrating the wonder of childhood.
And keep on diving.